Right.
I was already married once, so no before my name.
So does it make you frown? So is it frown?
I didn't say this.
Good evening, everybody out there. Can I hear me? I guess. Yes.
Can hear you.
Good evening, Bhante.
Evening, Bhante.
Oh, Harini's with us tonight.
Smaller bite.
Somebody else announced.
Smaller bite. Some, she's upstairs. An all-star cast. Yeah, that expression. All-star cast.
Yeah.
All-star cast. I think somebody's got their speaker.
Good evening, everybody out there.
Oh, yeah,
Can I hear
Bhante,
you?
shut off the,
Can hear you.
you gotta switch over to the
Bhante.
browser and shut
Evening, Bhante.
How do you do that?
just the way you always do.
Oh, Harini's with us tonight.
Go to your browser, go down to the bottom bar. Look at the browser that's open. Is there a browser window that's open? Yeah, that's it.
Which
Browser
one?
window at the bottom.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things down there at the bottom.
Yeah, well, the browser. You opened up the browser to the left. I think this one
The
here.
browser is the Google.
I think this one here, Bhante. Is there something? Yeah, that, whatever that was.
That?
Whatever, you rolled over something and it popped up. This one here, maybe? How about your, can't
I
see
shut
this.
it off.
Go down here. Yeah, give me let me.
No, that's my sharing. Okay, friends, we'll go ahead and begin with the Namo Tassa and three refuges, for those who'd like to join. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Sanghang Saranang Gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. So welcome everybody to this Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion and meditation practice. I hope you're all able to receive the mailing I sent out on Monday. and with the attachment to the sutta that I'm going to go over tonight, or at least the content of the sutta. So the content of that sutta was the relay of chariots, which is a sutta, which is a discussion between Venerable Sariputta and the other Arahant Puna Mantani Putta. So these were two of the great disciples of the Buddha. And I hope you're able to read that, because I'm not going to go over that, the beginning of that sutta, or the beginning of the sutta is very interesting, how these two arhants, even though they're arhants and they know the Dhamma perfectly, they love to discuss the Dhamma. They like to hear other people with their knowledge of Dhamma. So it's a very nice dialogue between these two arhants, one questioning the other about certain topics, in this case, the 7 purifications, called the relay of chariots. Now I'm going to now do a screen share with this outline of the these 7 purifications. So it's called the relay of chariots, although for those who are born in this country or understand Western history, probably the Pony Express would be a more common example, or something you probably have seen in the old Westerns, right? So these are 7 stages of purification that the mind goes through on its journey from ignorance to wisdom, from the journey from bondage to freedom. And the 2 arhants were discussing this sutras, asking one, they practice the teachings of the Buddha, and they're saying yes, and they said, well, do people practice under the Buddha in order to attain purity of virtue? And the other one says, no, not for that. And he says, well, does one practice the Dhamma for purification of mind? And not for that. And then he goes through all of these: purification of view, overcoming doubts, clarity as to what is the path and not the path, and knowledge and vision of the way. So with all of that, Sariputta is asking this Punamantani Putta, do people practice each one of those kind of by itself? And he says, no. The other one says, well, how come you say you don't practice all these, by themselves, lead to enlightenment? And then he gives this analogy or simile of the relay of chariots. So if in the Pony Express, they delivered the mail in the US back in the 1800s. They didn't have, those mail trucks as we have them today. So somebody would take a horse and ride it for about 10 miles at high speed. And then they would have a little outpost where they would change the horse, let that original horse rest, and they'd get a brand new horse that just had been fed and rested. And then you would jump on that horse, take the mail bag, and then ride another 10 or 15 miles. I don't know the exact distance, but until that horse got tired, then there'd be a second mail station. And they would get on a third horse, and then a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth, and a seventh, how many horses it needed to reach the next town where the mail would be delivered. So that's a simile to say how a person practices the purification of virtue or sila in order to reach purification of mind. And then one has to purify the mind before reaching purification of view. And one reaches, by purifying the view, one then overcomes doubts. One has to overcome doubts to have the clarity. And I'm going to go over these, talk about these anyway. But so that is how each of these 7 stages of purification found within the Buddhist teaching are practiced, usually in that, because without practicing sila, then you won't reach purification of mind probably. And without purifying the mind, you're not going to attain the jhana and reach purification of view, and so on. Now, I'm going to go over these 7 stages kind of in brief. And then if you have any questions on them, you can ask some questions at the end. So purification of virtue or sila means basically, as Buddhists or meditators, observing the precepts is very important, because most of our problems in life are due to having not followed the precepts in our life, or living with people who don't follow the 5 precepts, and we get all kind of problems with them, and so on. And so I think you all know what at least the 5 precepts are. Abstaining from killing or harming living beings. I think you all know them, so I'm not going to repeat them now. So basically, that's involved with the law of karma. So as long as a person is not living by, those 5 precepts, which includes intoxicating the mind and sexual misconduct and so on, then that is why we have guilt, worry, remorse, and fear. Because you're worrying about getting caught for having told a lie, for having stole something, for having used bad language. People blame you. Then you're going to worry about getting caught, maybe caught by the police or caught by others and getting beaten or worse. Or we just have the fear and worry. So therefore, as long as you have fear and worry in the mind, as well as obsessive behaviors and intense greed and hatred, then it's very unlikely you're going to be able to gain concentration and reach the level of jhana, or even just gaining concentration, even a mild form of concentration. Because it's the guilt, worry, remorse, and fear, just the agitation of having an uncontrolled mind, and contradicting the laws of nature, the law of karma. It comes back to us whenever we break those precepts, as I already mentioned. So that's why attaining some degree of the practicing sila, which helps through, again, it's about reducing guilt, worry, remorse, and fear and agitation in the mind, and the thoughts of the past and the future that come with that keep us locked in our wandering thoughts and prevent us from gaining concentration. So that's why the purification of virtue, it doesn't have to be purified totally 100%, but even, at least reducing those negative actions of body, speech, and mind. So our mind becomes more peaceful, and even our physical life becomes more peaceful. We're not entangled with so many arguments with people. We're not, incessantly craving things and wanting that to, get them by any means necessary. And, so many those obsessions. And of course, also intoxicating the mind. The fifth precept is about, because an ordinary person might not break too many precepts if they're sober, but if you give them some alcohol and they get inebriated, then they will much more easily break those precepts because it inhibits, their common sense. And I know this from my own personal experience, other people too. So that's why all those 5 precepts are considered the foundation of the practice of Dhamma, and for people that want to meditate. Now, some people might not follow the 5 precepts, all of them, but their meditation probably is not going to be very deep. People can meditate even, but it's not going to be very deep in order to reach these following stages. So, purification of mind is usually defined as reaching the first jhana. But in the commentaries and so on, it says by reaching the first jhana or the second jhana is purification of mind. That means suppression of the 5 precepts. Now, normally purification of mind is when the 5 precepts have become suppressed through your practice of concentration. Now, some people might be able to reach that even without practicing all of the precepts, but it's more difficult. But anyway, purification of mind means the suppression of the 5 precepts, even temporarily, while you're meditating. But you can also reach purification of mind by practicing insight. You don't necessarily have to reach the first jhana before practicing insight, but while practicing mindfulness, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, even mindfulness of the body, you can suppress, the hindrances can be suppressed even without attaining the first jhana, but you can attain the first jhana through doing that. So by developing mindfulness and by developing the present moment mindfulness, being able to let go of your thoughts and urges and reactions to pain and so on, by developing a good degree of mindfulness, you can also suppress those hindrances. And in doing that, that's why then you reach purification of, with the purification of mind, then that's usually when you can start practicing the insight meditation or vipassana. And that means tuning into the flow of impermanence. Where you can, purification of mind is, let's say there's an analogy, you have a glass of water that you scooped up from the gutter, let's say, down in the city, in the street, gutters, you scoop up a glass of water and you set it on a table, but the water may look green, or it may be cloudy with a lot of little particles of dirt and dust and so on in it. So it's not clear. And you couldn't look through one side of a glass and clearly see the other side. Because the view is obstructed by those defilements in the water. So the purification of mind is as though when these 5 hindrances subside, the mind becomes clear. The awareness becomes clear, and it becomes like that clear water that you can, with that cup of water on the table, you can look down into the water and you can see the little particles on the bottom of the glass that settle down to the bottom of the glass, like some little pieces of leaves or dirt and so on. And you realize, oh, water's not brown; it's actually clear. So that's the purification of mind, the temporary purification of mind, when the hindrances subside. and you attain either access concentration or the first jhana of concentration. And that is when you can then start developing the purification of view, and that is basically means the vipassana. So the vipassana meditation is really the starting point of that stage called purification of view. That means you're tuning into the flow of impermanence. You're developing insight into how quickly sight, sound, smell, taste, touches, sense impressions are coming and going. And within the body, because the mind isn't distracted, you can see how quickly different sensations come and go. You can quickly see how thoughts come and go because the mind is not clinging or reacting to them. You can even see how your thoughts come and go. You still may have thoughts, but they're just like a bubble floating through the mind. And when you notice it, thinking it, disappears. But anyway, basically the purification of view means developing insight into anicca, dukkha, and anatta through the practice of the four foundations of mindfulness, which is vipassana meditation, by whatever name you may call it. People sometimes limit vipassana to certain techniques only. Like, the 10-day courses that are called Vipassana courses are taught by Goenka. They think that's the only form of Vipassana, but that's not true. Anyway, that's another topic. But the four foundations of mindfulness is really the practice of Vipassana if you do it in the right way. Okay, so, and basically that means understanding the five aggregates, and how our mind is basically the process of sense nama rupa, what is called nama rupa. It means when you hear a sound, that sound vibration is the rupa, but is the material matter of the sound vibration, but the mind arises with feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. And that's called the mind. And the mind arises, consciousness arises with each moment of physical stimulation. There's so many body sensations, our thoughts, sounds, smells, tastes, and so on. Normally we don't see that because our mind is very dull. The ordinary person's mind is dull and slow, and it's clinging on to things. So we don't really see that process of impermanence clearly. So when one has a deep insight into that, that is called purification of view. But there still could be certain doubts arising. And as to whether the Buddha was really perfectly enlightened, or doubts about, the stages of liberation and so on, or a doubt about even yourself, whether you would have the ability to make progress in meditation as you continue to meditate. And overcoming doubt is written here, is basically, it means understanding dependent origination. So you contemplate the 12 links of a dependent origination and how the five aggregates are arising and vanishing, all of those, how those are, making up the objects of dependent origination. And how it's, depending on ignorance, arise the volitional formations, how that triggers off consciousness because of contact, feeling, perception. You see how the mental process is arising and vanishing moment to moment under this dependent origination. When you have a clear understanding about that, when you see that clearly, that is overcoming doubts. And then that leads to clarity as to what is the path and not the path. Now, what is the meaning of this? Knowledge of what is the path and not the path. So some people that they just want to practice samatha or concentration. Or they think that you have to practice concentration first and attain all the jhanas before you can start practicing insight. So there's one school of, understanding or, that teach that you have to, attain the jhana before you can practice vipassana. But, that's just a one-sided viewpoint. But anyway, what is the path? Is when people start to get close to attaining jhanas, they might see light within their mind. They might see what is called inner light, or they might feel this piti and the sukha. They might see visions, or they might see various what I call trinkets. They're called the impediments of insight because people can get attached to them. And just because you see light in the mind, people might think, oh, that's God, that's enlightenment, and because that has happened to people. Or they might, because of insights, they might think they can read people's minds and they get distracted. So it's a distraction to these byproducts of the meditation and that take you off the path and wanting to just hang out in the bliss of the first or second jhanas and just hanging out there and don't want to come out to practice observing impermanence. So there's some people that have done that. They attain jhana and they just want to, twirl around like this because it feels so good. And, they think that's their meditation. They get stuck on that. Because I've seen that happen, actually. I've told this story before. That I was teaching meditation course in Sri Lanka. And there was one girl who was meditating there and I saw her, she was, sure her body was going around like this. And she spent like the whole hour going around like that. I said, what are you doing? And she said, oh, I like that. I said, that's not meditation. Well, I like it, she said. So people get stuck on things like that. Or maybe you saw a light in the mind. You saw or a vision. Maybe the vision of the Buddha came to you and said, oh my gosh, that's the Buddha. And you get distracted. So anyway, that is not the path. So understanding that these impediments to insight are only attaining jhanas without going on to develop vipassana is not the real path to liberation. So what is the path is with that attainment of the jhana, you just don't sit in there and get attached to it. You use that jhana to double down and develop insight into impermanence and into the Four Noble Truths, impermanence, suffering, and no self. So, and you don't have to come out of the jhana to practice the insight meditation. That's a mistake some people have made. And by reading the suttas, we can see that that's what the Buddha mentioned. In many suttas, the Buddha, he talks about a person going from the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana. And then he says, from that fourth jhana, one bends one's mind toward the destruction of the defilements. And that means developing insight. He doesn't say come out of the jhana and then practice vipassana, no. In that jhana, then the mind is so clear that you can clearly see arising and vanishing. You can develop the insight knowledges very, very easily. So anyway, that is the path where it's called samatha vipassana. And then the next one is called knowledge and vision of the way. And that's the straight way through practicing the vipassana and attaining the 8 insight knowledges. And we're going to go over this maybe in more detail in next week. I'm not going to go over them now, it takes too long. So the first is the knowledge of rise and fall or impermanence, and the knowledge of dissolution, and the knowledge of fear and danger. Actually, these two should be taken away from there. Okay. The third one is knowledge of fear, danger, disenchantment, desire for deliverance, reviewing knowledge, equanimity of formations. And then the seventh one is purification by knowledge and vision, which means attaining the four paths and fruits. Now, I'll probably talk more about those next week. But I just wanted to, for this, so these are those 7 stages mentioned in the Relay of Chariots. And at the end of that sutta, even knowledge and vision of the way, then the one monk asked Sariputta, then you say all these things by themselves are not enlightenment without liberation, without remainder. What is the meaning of that? And he says the unbinding without remainder, the fruit of arahantship, that is the goal of the Buddha's teaching, not just attaining these stages, but attaining them using one to reach the other, going down like that Pony Express finally, after riding 8 different horses, one reaches the city to deposit the mail. So it was very beautiful the way that those monks were enjoying each other's knowledge. So I really encourage you to read that sutta that I sent out on the previous email. So now I want to open it up and see if anybody has any questions about any of those stages of it, those stages of purification. I don't see any messages in the chat box. So I'm going to revert back to the screen. You have these, I think, on your. I see a golden hand is up here. So Damon, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Bhante. So I tonight, and we talk about the mechanics of aggregates, and also in the past you have talked about things like cultivating gratitude. But how does those kind of concept things like gratitude and relate to the mechanical descriptions of the aggregates and the senses? I'm trying to cultivate gratitude in my life, even though I understand the aggregates, but I'm having trouble feeling grateful for the things that I have.
Well, feel grateful for gaining the knowledge of the Dhamma. So your understanding of the aggregates and these other things, if you hadn't heard them before, and then you weren't practicing the Dhamma, then by having gratitude, it helps the mind becomes more calm. Instead of just thinking it, knowing that we really can't do anything by ourselves. Ever since you were a baby, you depended on others. And then when you grow up and you're floundering in life and you hear the Dhamma, then you're dependent on learning the Dhamma, and then having conditions that allow you to meditate. So all these things are aspects of gratitude, having gratitude for, because how many people have all those abilities to do that? Not everybody. So that helps to make your mind more calm and peaceful, the same as developing metta. It helps you to overcome ill will. That's one of the hindrances. and developing insights into impermanence to help hopefully overcome excessive craving and desires for sensual pleasures and so on. So all these different reflections go, and all the practices of the Eightfold Path, they're all designed for one purpose, and that is the purpose to be able to, when you sit down to meditate, to be able to go, gain mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom with the least resistance and free the mind. The whole Dhamma is for that.
Right. Thank you. One more thing. I saw another Dharma talk where they said that the second noble truth, we typically say with you, we say the second noble truth, the cause of suffering is desire or craving. This other formulation of second noble truth said we suffer because of ignorance. And it kind of made sense. Ignorance is actually the root even before craving, right? So is it okay to formulate the second noble truth as it's due to misunderstanding and ignorance?
Yes. I usually do that whenever I'm explaining them in more detail. Yeah, usually they're referred to as greed, hatred, and delusion, but delusion should come first because delusion means not knowing the truth. So because we don't know the truth, we've allowed our mind to become obsessively attached to sensual pleasure, and we rely on the sensory world for our kicks, for our cheap thrills, various, all these things. But that causes lots of problems in the life. So because of ignorance, not understanding the law of karma also, we develop these unskillful actions that bring their painful results. So therefore, yes, developing wisdom, greed comes because of ignorance, and hatred becomes because of greed. They should be in that order. But, there's many levels of ignorance and levels of wisdom. So, but yes, ignorance is the worst of them all, and it's the hardest one to overcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions out there? Let me see, there's something in the chat box. Let me look at that. When someone is declared brain dead or in a life support or an Alzheimer's patient, how is their mind react? Do they feel the five aggregates? Now, I cannot answer that because I don't know. I haven't been in any of those conditions. So, I can't speak from any personal experience, but of course, there are a lot of, people that think they know, but generally, it depends. I mean, Alzheimer's is a different thing. Brain dead, of course, is basically there's not going in much of the brain, so it's difficult to say. In Alzheimer's, anyway, they're not going to be able to clearly have a clear mind to meditate in most of those instances. So that's why it's better to, if you don't have those conditions yet, try not to develop them or gain enough wisdom before you might get them. And who knows whether an Alzheimer's patient would forget the Dhamma if they knew it. Let's say a person attained Sotapanna and after that became an Alzheimer's patient. We don't know what's in their mind, because whether they have it or not, they can't communicate because their brain has been damaged in other ways. So anyway, these are theoretical questions, and it's probably not, no need to, think too much about that, I think. Kim, you have a question?
I do. Thanks, Bhante. So these do have to be followed in consecutive order.
correct?
Well, they are enumerated in that order because that is yes, that is the natural way they're unfolded. All of the teachings of the Buddha that are in list, like the Noble Eightfold Path, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, it's similar. You use one to reach the other, but it doesn't mean you have to perfect one before practicing the others. Uh, even even the Four Noble Truths, you have to know what suffering is to understand what the cause of suffering it is. And you have to understand the cause of suffering in order to know how to remove the cause of suffering. And then you have to understand then the path to remove them. So really all the lists, even the five spiritual faculties, faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, they're enumerated in the order because it's usually the natural unfolding of them, and that the first ones are easier to develop than the later ones. Any other questions? Okay, so I encourage you to, read again the sutra if you haven't. And then next week we'll try to elaborate a little bit more on, some of these, especially the insight knowledges. Okay? So if nobody has any other questions, then we will go ahead and take a short break and then come back to have a good session of some breathing and stretching before our meditation. Okay? So we'll see you back in a few minutes. Okay, friends, try to stand straight. Just relax your shoulders and arms, sides. Just gently close your eyes. Feel your eyes resting in the eye socket. And focus on the feet. Feel your feet pressing the floor. Feel that weight of the body pressing the feet to the floor. And let your mind kind of just rise up to the body to feel your legs, the clothing touching the skin of your legs. Just letting go of your thoughts, just keep the mind on the body. Feel your hands and fingers, or you feel the subtle pulsation, tingling sensations in your hands and fingers. Feel the clothing touching the skin of your stomach and chest. Take a deep, slow breath to feel the expansion of your stomach and chest. Clothing rubbing on the skin of the stomach and chest. Take a deep, slow breath. Hold in the breath a second. And slowly breathe out. Now feel your head balanced on top of the neck. And keep your chin lifted up level with the floor. Feel your head balanced on top, the eyes and the socket. From that point down the eyes, start to feel the outline, that standing body. Feel the general sense of the head on top, arms at the sides, clothing touching the skin, feet pressing the floor. Just try to hold that outline of the standing body in the mind's eye. Then begin some deep, slow breathing. Take 2 or 3 seconds to expand your abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest. Hold the air in the lungs. And then slowly breathe out and feel the last bit of air go out of the lungs. Just take several more deep, slow breaths like that, developing this body-centered mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Hold the breath in. Breathing out, standing here and now. Feel the last bit of air go out. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to combine this breathing with these movements that we've done before, coordinating the breathing with the movement. So on the next in breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten your arms, stretch your head back, stretch upwards, Look at the back of your hands. And release your fingers on the out breath, arms back to the sides. Feel the last bit of air go out as the arms come down. Again, in breath. Stretch up, bend back a little bit with the arch in the spine. Feel the sensation. Out breath, arms back to the sides. Feel the air go out. Once more in. Stretch up, bend back a little more, hold it longer. Out breath. Feel the air going out slowly. Relax. Close your eyes. Feeling the body. Keep holding that outline, the standing body in the mind's eye. You can't feel that, at least feel your feet pressing the floor, your hands and fingers, your head and face. Just remember standing, standing, standing. Let your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Keep the outline of the standing body in the front of the awareness. We're looking into a mirror, just watching the body standing, breathing. In the next movement, on the next in breath, lift up on the balls of the feet while raising the arms over the head in this way. Face the hands toward each other about 6 inches apart and stretch up. Out breath, bring the arms down, feel the air go out, the arms coming down. You use the in breath to help lift up the body. Stretch up. Out. Again, in breath. Stretch. Out. Relax, close the eyes. Keep feeling the body, the outline of the body. Head on top, arms at the sides, clothing touching the skin, feet pressing the floor. Just remember standing, standing. Don't give the mind a chance to wander away, carried away in thought. Centering the awareness in the body. Next we'll do side bending using one arm at a time. On the next in breath, raise your left arm up and keep your fingers and arms straight close to your head. And on the out breath, bend over your right side as far as you comfortably can, and lay your arm on the side of your head. With the other hand, come down by your knee. In breath, straighten up. 2 more times, the same side to the right, out breath. Then bend in the side. In the out breath, lower the arm. Extend breath, raise the other arm. And 3 times to the other side, out breath. In. Out. In. Out breath, lower that arm. Close the eyes, keep feeling the outline of the body. And those activated cellular vibrations. And then charged up with oxygenated blood and movements. Putting that energy to flow up and down arms, body. So you feel that. Letting go of your thoughts. Remember standing, standing, standing. Next we'll do the knee bending or squatting. So on the in breath, you can lift up on the balls of the feet, raise the arms up front for balance. On the out breath, bend the knees, lower the body down, balancing on the balls of the feet. Come down as far as you can into the squatting position. And take a deep breath, feel the muscles of the legs pushing the body up. All the way up on the toes. An out breath. In. Out. And hold that squat a little longer. In breath. Relax. Increased heartbeat, other sensations. Breathing, slowly touching the skin. Remember standing, standing. Feel those subtle life force sensations. Okay, now spread your legs apart about 3 feet. And holding the arms out to the side, we'll do twisting from right to left. The lateral twisting of the spinal column. Breathe in. On the out breath, twist to the right. Let the feet turn a little bit. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath, go back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body, twist to the other side, out breath. In breath, front. Continue alternating sides with the breathing. Once more to each side. Back to the front. Relax. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Sensations in your shoulders. Clothing touching the skin. And subtle life force, vibration. And we're going to do the alternate toe touching. So again, hold the arms out to the sides. And breathe in. On the out breath, you'll bring your left arm across and down to touch your right leg below your knee, or as far down as you can reach towards your foot. And then look up with your other hand over your head. Turn your head, try to look up with the hand over your head. And come up on the in-breath, carefully. And then the other side, out-breath. In-breath. Keep alternating sides like that. Try to stretch a little bit further each time. In-breath. And third time, if you have enough energy. Hold it a little longer. Feel all the sensations. legs back together. Now do the head turning from right to left. In the in-breath, turn the head to the right, and let go of the right shoulder. Get a stiff neck, just be careful. In the out-breath, turn the head all the way back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. In-breath, right. Out, left. Once more to each side. Keep the head stopped in the center. In the outline of the body. We'll do one last exercise, backward and forward bending, forward facing the palms outward, touching your little fingers. On the in-breath, raise the hands up, level to your eyes. Again, spreading the arms out to the sides as you bend back on the out-breath. Look up at the ceiling. And carefully lift up on an in-breath. Keep the arms out to the sides. On the out-breath, lower the arms and hands down towards the floor. And keep your legs straight. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. And lifting up, turn the palms outward again, in breath. Out breath, arms out to the side, bend back. In. Down we stretch the out breath. Once more. In. Out. In. Third time, try to hold the downward stretch longer. Little bones in the lower spine stretch out. Carefully lift up. In breath, bring the hands together at the chest. Out breath. Feel the whole body vibrating, pulsating, with activated life force. Billions of cells charged up with oxygenated blood, vibrating, interacting, keeping this body alive. Okay. So let's come back to our seats. Be ready for the sitting. Just get comfortable in your sitting posture. So line your back, the spine and back of your head in a straight line. Try to feel that center of gravity of the head over the spine. Find that tipping point where the body could either tip backwards or forward. Keep the chin lifted up level with the floor. Just gently close your eyes. Start to feel that outline of the sitting body. The sense of the head on top. The arms at the side. Buttocks pressing the seat. Feel the natural inward curve of the lower spine. Feel the way your legs are bent, feet tucked underneath, or pressing the floor. So hold that outline of the body in the mind's eye. And begin some deep, slow breathing. like we did in the yoga, 2 or 3 seconds to expand the abdomen, rib cage, and chest. Hold the air in for 2 seconds. And slowly breathe out. Feel the last bit of air go out of the lungs. Take several more deep, slow breaths like that, developing this mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Hold the breath a second. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to count our breaths from 1 to 10 to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. I'll do the counting for you. Just try to follow that with your breathing and concentration. So with the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the breath a second. With the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feel the last bit of air go out. The next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. In 7. Out 7. In 8. Out 8. In 9, out 9, in 10, out 10. Now as the breath goes out, completely relax. Let there be a little pause. Just let the breath come back in by itself without forcing it. But continue to keep your attention focused on the subtler expanding and contracting movements in the middle of the body. Try to tune in to the 4 phases of each breath cycle. The expanding in breath and the brief pause. The contracting out breath and the brief pause. Just over and over and over again. Especially try to feel where the clothing rubs against the skin of your stomach or chest. It expands and contracts, creating friction, sensation. To help stay focused, you can make these brief mental reminders of in sitting, out, sitting. It's the ongoing, continuous present moment of this breathing body. In sitting, out, sitting. Just remember that much. It's not much to remember. Especially be alert for those brief pauses between the breaths. After the in-breath, there's a brief pause, a fraction of a second. At the end of the out-breath, there's a brief pause before the next in-breath. Start to observe that process like a scientist looking down through a microscope, observing an experiment. Just observing this feeling, this experiment of breathing in your own body. Just in sitting. Out, sitting. Start to feel this breathing within the larger sitting body. You can try to hold that outline of the breathing body in the mind's eye, the eye of awareness. Letting go of your thoughts, If you still have lots of thoughts, you can combine this breathing awareness with your counting. Count the breaths by yourself from 1 to 10. See if you can make it to 10 breaths without your mind going to sleep or getting lost in thought. If it helps you to stay awake, you can do some deep breathing as you're, along with that counting, to help stay awake, alert in the body. In sitting, out, out, sitting, breath by breath, moment by moment. Being alert for any of the 5 hindrances. Letting go of them. Apply the antidote. Reach that purity of mind. All the thoughts and distractions subside, gaining unbroken attention. to the breathing process. Feeling the whole and expanding in breath from beginning to end, and the brief pause. Feeling the whole outgoing breath from beginning to end, and the brief pause. Be like a scientist looking down to the microscope. You feel those subtle sensations of the breathing. If you're able to count 10 breaths without the mind getting lost, just let the awareness return to just the pure breathing awareness without any counting. Try to hold that outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. Just feel those sensations of breathing within the larger body. Just letting your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Keeping the breathing body in the front of the awareness. Just breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. With each out breath, allowing the body and mind to relax more and more into the here and now, the present moment. It's feeling more and more sensation. Gradually opening up to the flow of impermanence, noticing how quickly different sensations come and go. With being alert for thoughts trying to sneak into the mind. If you get caught up in thinking, recognize it as thinking. Just let go of the thoughts. Take a deep, slow breath Bring the mind back into the body. If you know what the 5 aggregates are, be alert for them as they constantly coming and going. Material sense vibrations, pleasant or painful sensations that arise because of the perceptions, mental recognition. Thought. Be aware of any self-consciousness, thoughts of I, me, or mine in the mind. Staying with the breathing. Breathing is there in the middle of the body, but all around and through that awareness, other sensations can be noticed. Aches and pains, prickly sensations, clothing touching the skin. The more purely physical sensation you can notice, the less time for your mind to get carried away in thoughts or go to sleep. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. So many sensations come and go. Sounds come and go. Pleasure and pain come and go. Sleepiness comes and goes. Various thoughts, ideas, past or future, come and go. These are all just a continuous flow of change and impermanence, the five aggregates, in their nature of impermanent. It's coming and going through the expanded breathing body awareness. If you have a good awareness of the breathing body, just try to feel like being an empty house with nobody at home to react. Just let that little sense of I or me just gradually fade away. In that expanded awareness. From time to time, take a few deep, slow breaths. Help keep the mind awake, alert in the breathing body. Dukkha patacani dukkha bhaya patacani bhaya soka patacani sokha Untu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. In this way may all beings live with mindfulness and wisdom. Thus spoke the Buddha. Now I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times slowly. We do that chanting on a long out breath. You feel those vibrations in your body and mind. So take a deep breath. Sadhu. Breathe. Sadhu. Breathe. Sadhu. Now place your hands at the edge of your knees. Take one more deep breath as you breathe in. Stretch your head back. Pull the hands on the knees to arch your spine back. And let out the breath. And breathe in, lift the head up. And on an out breath, press your chin to the top of the chest. Stretch the neck vertebrae. And lift the chin up level on an in-breath. And relax on the out-breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends. So this brings our evening Dhamma discussion and meditation to an end. But as I always say, awareness should never end. It means mindfulness. And especially when you practice the M&Ms, the minutes of minute meditations every hour during the day. Whatever you're doing, just stop what you're doing once an hour for 1 minute. Take a few deep, slow breaths. Come back to feel the body, letting go of that rush to the future. Bringing all your Dhamma understanding to crystallize in that 1 minute. Okay? So anyway, next week we'll try to go over some more detail, the insight knowledges. So I might send out some more on Monday, some more information on those you can read on those stages of purification of the insight knowledges. Okay? So until then, be well, be safe, be mindful, be wise, and Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya, Bhante. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante.
Where is?